حك pair t-test دوم they're gonna give you a table. okay, بيعطوكم two sets of results. مثلا set number 1 at x بعدين set number 2 at y for example. it's always a before and after. يعني مثلا لو عندي دواء وبقيس how effective this medication is. هالشخص المريض التعبان okay بيموت علينا. we're gonna give him this medication, but before giving him this medication we're gonna مثلا measure his blood pressure. So we're gonna measure his blood pressure, and then after he takes the medication we're gonna measure the same person's blood pressure after a certain time point. okay, then we're gonna measure another value. هذا هو هني person number 1 مثلا person number 1 we measured his ضغط مثلا before, بعدين we gave him the دواء بعدين we measured after. person number 2 before after. it's the same person but at two different time points. مثلا at time 0 بعدين هني at time 5 for example عطوا الدواء بعدين at time 10 they measured the ضغط or whatever it is. لازم تعرفون ان these two data sets are related to one another من ناحية ان عشان شي اسمه paired t-test. it's a paired result. it's before and after. المهم الحين فالسؤال نشوف السؤال. اوكي فالسؤال شو سووا لكم شو قال لكم عليكم فالسؤال قال لكم there's a new antihypertensive is tested by measuring pre and post treatment. so before the treatment and after the treatment. okay, by measuring the systolic blood pressure systolic blood pressure, and the number of patients were 8. so حق كل patient number 1 they measured their blood pressure before and then they gave him the medication or her the medication, and then they measured after for 8 people. فأنت الحين they're saying إن we have a medication وهالمedication شو يسوي. it's an antihypertensive so ينزل الضغط. okay, so they're trying to test out a certain medication and they're claiming that this medication lowers hypertension. okay, لأنه we know hypertension يعني their blood pressure is high. ف antihypertensive is anti-hypertension أي شيء عكس hyper is lower ف decreases the hypertension. المهم فهم they're claiming إن this medication okay lowers the hypertension. and how are they trying to prove it? by giving it to 8 people. فأنت شو تبى تطلع الحين؟ تبى تطلع إن you're trying to prove إن this medication actually works. it's not صدفة. before you even start مثلا solving the question or like getting the calculations for it before and after, the first thing is you're gonna write the null hypothesis. The null hypothesis is you always assume the worst. The worst is the medication doesn't work. So you say that this medication has no difference. So the difference is 0. There's no difference. إذا مثلا شخص ضغطه مثلا 120. okay, we can set this as the norm as 0. so the D مثلا there's another D scale. ال D 0 إذا before and after نفس الشيء we're gonna إذا ال before وال after نفس الشيء يعني كان 120 قبل بعدين still 120 after, it's still at 0. we claim إن it's 0. the difference is 0. بس to prove that this medication works we don't want the difference to be 0. okay, so we don't want it at this point نبغى يقل فيستوي مثلا -1 ولا -2 or whatever. المهم it's not 0. okay, you don't have to write it this way. it's more complicated. you can just write that this medication okay has no effect in lowering the hypertension. Alternative would be that this medication has effect in lowering the hypertension. So this is the first thing you established. okay, الحين after you wrote your null hypothesis, alternative hypothesis, you're gonna want to check if the before and after values actually are they do make sense in a way that it's not صدفة and the medication actually works. how you calculate it is that the first thing you do برضه حط التابل هني. okay, the first thing you do is that you want to find the difference between the before and after. شو قصدي difference؟ قصدي if you look at مثلا the patient number 1. okay, let's look at patient number 1. قبل ما ياخذ الدواء ضغطه كان 120، بعد ما أخذ الدواء ضغط استوى 119. ف the difference between before and after is that قبل كان 120، بعد نزل 1 unit of his blood pressure mmHg or whatever. المهم حق patient number 2 أعطوه الدواء قبل الدواء كان 130، أعطوه الدواء استوى 128. فشو استوى حق ضغطه؟ نزل 2 degrees or 2 units. هذا ما تغير، هذا نزل 3 degrees، هذا نزل 4 degrees، هذا زاد ف plus 1، هذا minus 2، هذا minus 1. So the differences the difference okay بكتب difference okay are these values for each patient. okay, so the first thing you want to do is you want to find the mean of the differences. okay, the mean of the differences is again يعني the mean d mean equals to, we're just going to add all the values, -1 plus -2 plus 0 plus -3 plus -4 plus 1 plus -2 plus -1. okay, divided by the number of samples, which is شو 8. so 8 is the number of samples. وإذا حسبتوا ال d, it's going to be, or the mean of the difference is going to be -1.5. so this is one thing we could establish. Another thing we could establish from these set of results اللي هو هذا اللي هني okay is that they're numbers. okay, if they're numbers you could find the mean of the numbers, you can find the standard deviation of the numbers, and you could find the number of samples. هذا 8، هذا -1.5. you could also calculate the standard deviation through a normal calculation of standard deviation. just all of these are just values, so سووا نفس ما تسوون حق any set of numbers, and you're gonna calculate the standard deviation يكون 1.604. okay, so this is the standard deviation. الحين you get تكتبون the n قلنا 8 okay, standard deviation is 1.604. okay, so we calculated the mean of the difference, standard deviation of the difference, and the n, which is given 8. المهم the second thing you want to do is you want to use the t-test. okay, and the t-test عبارة عن the difference, the mean of the difference over the standard error. okay, المهم if we look at the equation نحن عنا the difference the mean of the mean of the difference، بس ما عنا شيء اسمه the standard error. المهم standard error شو كان اسمه؟ والله ما أعرف شو كان اسمه. المهم the SE. how you calculate the SE is basically the standard deviation over square root of n. do we have the standard deviation؟ هي عنا تو حسبناها هو الفاليو. do we have the number n or the number of samples؟ هي هو 8. so you could just simply plug وبيطلع لك 1.604 over square root of 8 بيطلع لك 0.567. okay, 67. plug it back over here, so it's gonna be d, the mean, which is -1.5 divided by 0.567. okay, بيطلع لك the t-test equals to 2.646. okay, this is the value you got. الحين you leave all of this aside. what do you do الحين is after you got the t-test is that you want to go, you're gonna check the t-table. okay, if you want to check the t-table, the t-table شو عنا the significance level or the confidence interval percentage مثلا 99 or 95 or blah 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 on this axis or whatever. بعدين هني عنا the n, the degree of freedom. okay, so you need two things. so for the t you need the n, the degree of freedom, comma the confidence interval. okay, or the alpha يعني. so the degree of freedom is 8 minus 1 لأن n, which is n minus 1, which is 7. so T7 كوما في السؤال قالوا لنا إنه شو ما أدري شو 95% confidence interval. So 95% confidence interval يعني it covers شو 95% of this 95% of ها كامل. شو اللي بقى شو 0 بقى 5% and this 5% is متوزع على these two. So this is 2.5%, this is 2.5%, or in other words it's 0.025 and 0.025 فكوما 0.025. so ليش أنا ما قلت لكم مثلا ليش ما حطينا T 7.5 T 0.05. it's because نحن هني في الدواء هذا ما يبون the goal is نحن نبا يقل فنحن نبا one tail نحن نبا our difference to be here نبا يقل اوكي. بس إذا أنا قلت هالدواء أعرف إنه بيغير البلد بريشر ماله بغض النظر يوم أنا أقول بيغير البلد بريشر ماله يعني عادي يزيد عادي يرتفع بس أهم شيء ما يتم نفس البلد بريشر before. But this is not the case that we want. We're saying that this medication lowers فنحن we care about this side. We don't care إنه إذا كان في difference it's good. We're not saying it's not. بس the difference could يزيد الضغط. شو الفايدة عيال ليش حاطين دواء ما ترى يعني أنا لا أخذ الدواء. فنحن we want to look at this side of the table. المهم we go to the table okay and the table قلنا إن 95% okay which is but I elect المهم 95% و at 7 right بيطلع في شيء غلط في السؤال. أتوقع كان قصدهم 97.5 confidence interval because there's something wrong. 5% meaning 0.025 each one. Okay. اوكي ما في شيء غلط انا غلطانة. Okay. So نحن نبغى one tail which is 0.025. Okay. So المتبقي كيف تفرقون بين هذا وهذا؟ اوكي إذا هذا بس 0.025 وهذا كامل إذا هذا 2.5 وهذا 95 اوكي يعني it's 95 plus 2.5 اللي هني بيكون شو 97.5 okay which is the same thing. So confidence interval is 9 T at 97.5% or 0.975 ونبى one tail which is 0.25 for the value is 2.365 ما كان 67 بس يلا. So طلعنا من التابل T at 0.025 with 7 the degree of freedom being 7 is 2.365. So الحين if we bring all of this together we know إن the T test okay طلع لنا ال value of negative 2.646. the T table طلع لنا a value of 2.365. الحين نحن بدنا نرسم هذا في ال as a normal distribution okay negative 6.465 somewhere here okay مثلا هذا negative 2.646 و T table okay it's one tail so it could be the right tail it could be the left tail so this is interchangeable it could be negative 2.365 or it could be positive 2.365 لأن depending on the tail هم قالوا لكم one tail ما قالوا لكم the right tail or the left tail. إذا في two different tables إذا كان the left tail بيكون نفس الأرقام بالضبط بس all of them يا دوب being negative فهذا نغيره to negative 2.365. الحين نحن our goal is نبغى هالvalue يكون within this range عشان we say إن هالدواء شغال بس إذا ما كان شغال بيكون in this range which is again the significance level okay. فالحين نحن we want to compare it to the T table. T table قالنا 2.365. 2.365 is somewhere here, negative 2.365. فإذا T table يقول لك هذا كامل هني، أي إذا المedication كان in the green range يعني the medication is working. So what you could say is that قالنا null hypothesis that the difference is 0, or in other words that the medication has no effect, okay, and the alternative says that there is in fact a difference and the medication has an effect. So what we saw في هالgraph over here is that the t-test اللي نحن طلعناه is a value in the significance level. هذا كامل 95%، هذا the other tail 2.5، وهذا كامل is the 2.5. okay. نحن our goal is the value being in this range, which شو طلع our t-test is negative 2.64, which is in this range. So what we could do is that we could say we're gonna reject the null hypothesis and accept the alternative hypothesis, saying that this medication works fully and whatever. المهم تشافوا وتعافوا الناس بس that's it. بعدين you could just يعني give them a range آخر شيء في السؤال. you know how to give a range, confidence interval range. when okay, we reject the null hypothesis. The mean change difference has a difference from 0, and then the confidence interval is the mean of the difference plus minus هالvalue اللي نحن طلعناه توا 2.365. okay. ضرب the standard error، وبعدين if you do plus حق هالرقم بعدين تسوون بيطلع هالvalue، وإذا سويتوا minus هالرقم كامل من هذا بيطلع لكم هالvalue, giving a value of من هني لأنهم it's giving you a range and you guys get the confidence interval. بس والله